everybody, welcome back. Today for you I have a video in a new little series I'm starting on my channel called This Is My 40-Year-Old Face. So what this is going to involve are some tips and some tricks and some little just how-tos and tutorials on how to do makeup and skincare on aging skin. So just a little bit of different things, but these tips, tricks can work for anybody of any age and any type of skin type, I do believe. So today's video is going to focus on eyeshadow application for aging eyes. My eyes, I've noticed over the years, have begun to try to hood a little bit. They get a little bit puffier up here as we get older. The skin's not quite as tight as it once was. Yes, my eyebrows actually did used to sit up there once before. So this is just going to be some little tips, tricks, and again, like I said, it's for pretty much aging eyes, but really these can be universally used on anybody. So don't feel that just because you're 20 something, and I'm totally jelly of that right now, that you can't also benefit from this. So stick around and we'll get into it. So I brought you in nice and close and tight. And first, before I even talk about kind of the steps and the tricks, I'm gonna tell you something that I think is really important, that sometimes is an often skipped step before you do any of your eye makeup or even concealer, is to moisturize under your eyes and even on top. Aside from just your normal, like, everyday moisturizer, also an eye cream is fabulous for really helping to moisturize and get that set and ready to go. So basically, tip and trick number one is eyeshadow primer. So it's going to help cancel out discoloration. It's also going to make your shadows stay on longer, of course, and it's going to help with basically it all gliding on and not getting hung up in any little lines or crepey texture you might have. So what I'm using is, this is the e.l.f. eyeshadow primer and liner sealer. It's basically consistency of a stick concealer, and it's kind of hard and rough like that. So how I apply it is I don't take this directly onto my eye. I just rub some off on my finger, and I'm sure you guys have seen this in other tutorials before if you've watched them, but I rub this on my finger and then just pat that in. Leftover lash glue, such as the dilemma when you decide to wear falsies. Now, next trick to your eyeshadow primer is you kind of want to set this, because it can be a bit tacky. It can make it a little bit more difficult for your shadows to glide if it's a little too tacky. So one thing I always like to do is, if I have a translucent powder, you can set it with that, or I just like to take the cream color from my eyeshadows that I'm pretty much going to use underneath my brow bone anyway. So this week I'm using my Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. It's part of my Face of the Week video series as well. So that's the palette I'm using today. And I'm going to go into the shade down here, which is Divinity. And it's this nice cream colored shade. And I'm just going to apply that all over the entire lid space. Okay, so that's done, that's set. You guys have watched me do this 1,000 times, so if you've watched my tutorials, but I'm just kind of going a little bit more in depth here and the actual steps and like little maybe things that don't make it into videos that I do that are just kind of little tricks. So next thing I want to do is I like to lay down my transition color. And my transition, I'm going to lay from the crease about up to here to where this orbital bone kind of ends. So I have a pretty deep socket, so my orbital bone is way up here. So it leaves just this little bit up here that doesn't have color on it. One of the things I don't recommend is if you have just got this little bit of puffiness here, not hooded eyes, because hooded eyes is completely different, and I don't have hooded eyes, so I can't really give you too much information on that. But if you got this up here where it's starting to get just a little bit puffy and trying to, like, it's not really that your eye is hooding so much as it's just sinking in further. One thing you don't want to do is raise your eyelid like this when you're putting in your crease and your transition colors, because you're pulling that skin and it's gonna end up further down. And one of the things is, you know, like as, you know, I'm getting older and I have round eye shape, that my eyes are trying to downturn just a little bit. See, just a little bit in there. So I want to make sure everything stays looking lifted. So again, I don't want to raise my eyebrows way up here and think that, oh yeah, I'm all up in there. And when I put my eyes natural, no, it's all way down in there. So I recommend just keeping your eyes normal for this step. So for the transition, I'm going to go up here into the shade Almond Truffle, which I tend to use this for the transition for everything on here. So again, I'm using that same big fluffy brush because I'm doing a big space here, and this is just for time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right here in the corner. I'm going to kind of measure up, see where that's going, and right across there. That's the area I'm wanting to cover. So that also helps too with this brush. Because of its size, it helps aid me in where I want the shadow to go. Now, once you've got that down, you can kind of raise your eye to make sure that that is really getting wedged into the crease really well. But to start off, you want to just hold your eye natural so that you have your color coming up to where you want it to. Like, I don't like a lot of space between these two that's just blank canvas. So that's why I like to keep my transition color way up here, because I think that just makes everything blend out so much better. So here we go, eye setting natural. When you're looking straight on, you can see the color is stopping right about here, but it's very light here. You know, this isn't like full on deep color. This is just transition. So I'm stopping right here, and it's not up in this area where I don't want it. So now that transition is laid down, I'm going to go into the crease color. What I'm putting in this piece of the crease right here. And I usually do like a deep crease, and then I'll do like the outer corner V, and I'll bring that in a lot lower and a little bit deeper. But so this is just pretty much going to be that all over in the crease shade. I like to use a fluffier blending brush like this. It's nice and fluffy at the top and kind of wispy almost, because it just helps the shadows glide better. So I'm going to go into the next color here. We're going to hit Mocha right here. So the first thing I do is I'm going to lay my brush on my outer corner. That's just what I do, because wherever you lay your brush, that's where you're going to get the most pigment, obviously. I kind of will wiggle it there for a second, and then I'm wedging it up into the crease. And right now I'm only focusing from here over, because I don't want it really deep coming in here. I want that lighter. So what I'll sit here and do is I'll blend this back and forth a couple of times, kind of circular motioning the outer corner, laying that into the crease. Again, you see I'm not raising my eyebrows like this. I'm just keeping my eye at its natural spot. So now that I've laid out most of the color on the outer edge and into the crease, then I'm going to start pulling it over here, because there's a little bit less product on the brush. It's going to be a little bit less light, and so therefore it's not going to be really dark in this region here by the nose, which is what I don't want, because that's actually just going to make your eyes look smaller. So there we go. So this is what we've got so far. So now we're going to do just a clean blending brush, and I'm going to blend just a little bit back and forth. I just want to make sure that that's really blended in with the transition color. Mad blending skills here, y'all, mad. It takes, you know, it takes practice. It's just a lot of practice. So now I'm going to do the definition and the lid color. I usually like a nice shiny color on the lid. That's just kind of my thing. So for this one, I'm going into Molasses Chip. Molasses Chip is super metallic. Loaded up the brush really good using a flat shader brush here. This is the e.l.f. eyeshadow C brush. It's one of my favorites. It is flat, but it has this curved, you know, that C shape. So it kind of really helps me make sure that I don't go up in here. And I also make sure that I don't have any product right here on the tip of the brush, because that sometimes you can accidentally lay it up and get it in there. And I'm going in here a couple of times because I'm only going in like one good tap, and I'm building this one up. So now I'm going to work on the definition of the outer corner and really help pull those eyes up, really get them turned up. So what I'm going to use for that, this is the e.l.f. blending brush. And so it's kind of like a little bit wispy up here, but almost kind of like a flat shader brush through here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the shade up here, Malted, which is this nice deep brown. It does have a little bit of shimmer in it, but honestly, the shimmer really doesn't translate to the eye too terribly bad. Now I'm going in here for one tap, one good tap. I'm going to tap that off really good because I don't want this too dark. And so what I do is I'm going to press this right here on the outer edge and hit that orbital bone. You can see like I'm on that orbital bone, and I'm just going to kind of follow it up just a little bit, just in that outer corner though, because what I'm doing right there is just laying it down. Then I'm going to turn my brush this way and I'm going to sweep it up. Just like so. Just sweeping motion there. And then with the brush still turned in this direction, I'm going to just pop it right there into that deep, deep, deep part of my crease, just a little bit. Now I take this step very slow. I build it up very slowly because this is where you can ruin everything and have to start all over. But again, you'll see how I'm kind of doing these like flicky taps. That's what I call them, flicky taps. You can start to see kind of the shadow of almost kind of like a powder wing going on there. Just a little bit. But you'll see it's only just this little line here because that is going to create our little optical illusion to make the eye look bigger. Then I'm going to blend it back and forth just a little bit on the lid. Just a little bit. And this is just kind of my thing to make my eyes look a little bit more open, and also that cat eye effect, putting that dark color towards the outside. So now that I have that on there, I'm going to go back into what was actually our first crease color, which is Mocha. I'm taking this on another different brush. This is the e.l.f. crease brush. So it's a little tiny wispy. And I'm going to pull that right over that and kind of connect my little faux line you saw out there with this. Right above that deep color. So again with that Mocha, this is where I'm just kind of pulling this in here. I'm going to build that up nice and slow. This is why I love to use this little tiny wispy brush right here. When you're looking straight on, you don't see it as well. You can just kind of see, you know, oh, okay, well, it looks good, and the eye looks lifted. When I turn it to the side, that's where you can kind of see it's kind of got that little bit of wing shape there. And again, that's just that optical illusion. So you're just kind of painting that on. I mean, you're literally drawing a V with the eyeshadow. That's pretty much what you're doing. But compared to each eye, you can see that this one just looks so much larger and like it's going up. And you can almost kind of see in this one where it's kind of like still drooping down a little bit because we haven't done that one yet. But that's that little trick there. You're just going to basically create a shadow wing without even having to do wing liner or anything. But just the eyeshadow itself is going to create that shadow wing there that's pointing up towards the tail of your eyebrow. And it just gives that optical illusion of your eye being much more open and much more awake and not downturned and droopy. Now that that's all done on both sides, I am going to take my clean blending brush. I always clean it off in between and just kind of make sure all of that is blended together so that there's no harsh lines. The colors are just transitioning into each other. And again, I'm kind of staying away from this spot there because if that looks too dark right in there, it just makes the whole eye look tiny and dark all over again. Also, I'm going to take what we were using for our transition color again, which was the Almond Truffle. Just a very light tapping on this, and I'm just going to kind of hit over the border of everything here just to soft focus it all up. Okay, so a few little steps here is now I'm going to do my lower lash work. I usually like to take the deepest color that I used for the outer V, and in this case it was the shade Malted. I put it on a very tiny flat definer brush, and I'm just going to hit the outer corner here and bring it in to where the brown part of my eye starts, so where the iris starts. So now I'm going to go into our shade Mocha, and on a little bit softer smudger brush, a little bit wider. This is the e.l.f. $1 smudge brush. I love this thing. I'm going to take the shade Mocha, which was pretty much our crease color, and I'm going to run that right along with that too. This time I'm going to take it in almost to the inner tear duct. So it kind of helps smoke that out and define that a little bit there. Last two little things to do is I'm going to take what we used as our base color, Divinity. We're going to go underneath the brow, pretty much just the tail portion there, and that just really again helps lift and wake things up. So now I'm going to brighten up this inner tear duct, which I always do and I love to do. So I'm going to go into this highlight shade here, Satin Sheets. I'm going to take that on a pencil brush. You can also use any tiny small brush you have. Use your finger, pop it in there. Really doesn't matter. I'm a bit eccentric. I use 1,000 brushes. You honestly don't need all of these brushes. You can accomplish this with just a few, and that is it. This is the completed eye look. Again, you just using that technique of kind of actually drawing that V on the outer edge of your eye really helps kind of lift things up, especially if your eyes are starting to downturn. If you're getting that little bit of puffiness in here, like I said, it's just the technique of the building up the eyeshadow without shoving it in the wrong place. A few little key points I wanted to point out is that you'll notice in the crease I used all matte colors. I feel that if you put too much shine in there, it catches the light in different ways and it can either make things look deeper or a little bit more jetted forward. So it's always best to stick with those matte colors in your crease in your transition, because again, like I said, that's all that, you know, trick of the eye and catching the light. I think it's always keeping in mind too that you need to do everything kind of in an upward motion. Just keep thought in your head, everything up, everything's moving up. Like I said, these are just some tips and tricks for aging eyes. But this will work for all, you know, if you're having trouble with really trying to blend and transition, you know, hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. This is a new series I'm starting my channel, just kind of a mini series, so I'll pop videos in. I don't really have a rhyme or reason to them just yet. I think I'll go more so off of like if you guys have requests of things that you'd like to see a little bit more in depth. Little few other tips and tricks that maybe I don't necessarily explain or even show on camera when I'm doing tutorials and things like that. I'll be more than happy to share those with you. I want to thank you as always for spending a little bit of your time with me today. Again, before you leave, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos here on my channel. Give it a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It really does mean a lot to me, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.